Welcome to Football Fever, a brand new show that's hitting the airwaves for the first time here on Chubba TV. I'm your host, and I'm very excited to have on the line one of my good friends, my old sparring partner from the good old days at Soccer Stoppage Time, Andy O. Good evening.
Good evening, Chubbs. I don't know how you keep dragging me back, mate. I don't know how you do it, but we're here. We're getting a band together.
Mate, we are getting the band together. We're all excited. We're going to have Stealth Tony Rallis soon with some big news coming out of. He always has big stories to break, as we know, but it's exciting. We haven't been on for a while since Soccer Stoppage Time, and the A-League's really kicked on leaps and bounds of late.
Mate, I can't tell you how many people have asked me since. I think it was since COVID or before COVID that we officially stopped, and every time I go to watch young NPL games, whether it's my daughter or friends or, kids of friends, everyone just asks me, what's going on with the show and when are you guys coming back, and we miss it and all the rest of it. And they do miss Tony's bombs, and he's known to have a few bombs launched through the show, and mate, I think we're we're back, and we're going to be firing.
And the NPL's been flying. I mean, the NPL the last couple of seasons has really gone to new lights, and really taken off as well. All the games being live on YouTube has been a huge success. And we'll be talking to league leaders, the Spirit FC, who are the surprise package of the NPL1 at the moment, with David Perkovich later. We'll get him on and see what they're doing out there, because they're really taken the league by storm this season.
Mate, I've been keeping a close eye on the NPL, as I always do, both here and in Victoria, with some mates that are down that way, that with kids that play as well. But yeah, look, always been exciting. And Chubbs, I mean, you saw the other week the scenes that was out of Preston, down in Melbourne, Preston versus South Melbourne. We know it from back in the glory days of the NSL, and a crowd of 9,000 people or whatever it was, and it was just sight, a sight to behold, and that's the sort of stuff that we miss here in football in this country at that level.
We'll go quickly. We'll start off just quickly with the A-League. We'll just go quickly through the A-League results. I'm sure everyone's up to date with them, but we'll quickly go through them, because the A-League was raining goals, and boy, there were some cracking goals in this round. I mean, if people don't watch the A-League, they should start watching it, because the level and some of the goals that are scored in the A-League this season have been phenomenal. It all started on Friday night. We had a cracker with Macarthur FC and Newcastle Jets in a 3-3 draw. On Saturday, Wellington Phoenix and the Wanderers played a 2-2 draw. Sydney FC went down to Melbourne City 3-2. And the big one, the cracking game of the round, was at Melbourne Victory, with Melbourne Victory beating Adelaide United 5-3, and that was a cracker of a game. Then on Sunday, we had the Central Coast Mariners 3, Perth Glory 1, and the league leaders, Auckland FC, they continued on their marching way, beating the Brisbane Roar 2-0. Melbourne Victory were outstanding.
Yeah, big rivalry, Chubbs. Big rivalry, victory in Adelaide, as we know, in the A-League. It's probably one of, apart from your derbies, it is one of the biggest interstate games. And boy, I tell you what, I was watching that game, and you just couldn't look away, because the amount of action and obviously the goals. Some people say, the goals is not as entertaining, but obviously, that's where the action comes from. You love seeing goals, as opposed to something like a 1-0 or 1-0 or 0 scoreline. So. Very entertaining, very big win for Melbourne Victory. They were down and out for a couple of periods there in the game, but credit to them. They're obviously in there with a big shot. With a big shot this year, they're sitting well inside the top 6. So it is nice and tight, as we know. Apart from Auckland, who's streaking away at the top, but. Yeah, no, it's just going to be an interesting run into the finals.
I'll stop you there, because we have got our man online. We have got him, the man we used to do a lot of throwing him backwards with Stealth Tony Rallis in the old days with Soccer Stoppage Time. Good evening, Stealth. How are you?
Good evening, boys, and congratulations on Cover TV. Best to you, Andy. Andy Switzerland, good to see you again, son.
So you look younger than I've ever seen you, mate.
I look what, sorry?
Younger.
Yeah, I doubt that, but anyway, it must be the screen. I haven't cleaned it.
Stealth, we used to do Soccer Stoppage Time. Now we're bringing a brand new show, Football Fever. As we know, we usually get you on to be breaking stories in the A-League with transfers and scoops and so on. But I think I've got a scoop of my own today, though, what I want to bring out to you, and you tell me how correct or factual I am. My reports and my sources tell me only 3 to 4 hours ago that the Newcastle Jets had sent a written letter to Robbie Stanton saying that he will be terminated at the end of the season. Have you heard anything of this?
Without going into the particulars, I have cited Newcastle Jets suggesting that they are going to put Robbie Stanton on notice.
What I don't believe is that what is going on at Newcastle with Robbie Stanton. I mean, in the last 8 weeks, he's only had one loss. He's developing players for the Newcastle Jets, the NPL, the YPL, and so on. He's been doing a terrific job. And if you could say anything, I think there's only 3 losses in the last 12. And if anything, Newcastle Jets are on the way up. They're not on the way down. So what is the theory and what is the reasoning behind even the thought of terminating Robbie Stanton's contract at the end of the season?
I think Chubb, you need Morris Brachetto. Sorry, Brachetto is an Italian delicacy. Morris Bisset, Chief in command for his conduct. All I can say is 14 weeks ago, Robbie Stanton signed a 2-year. And he's only in the meantime. I know Morris Bissetto, Chief in command, would come out and probably spit out a bit, but all Robbie's got the smallest playing budget, the 2.9 million per season on players. To put it in perspective, there's a batch of clubs in the 3.5 million range, with the 4.5, and a lot of top clubs in the $5.5 to $6 million range. My understanding, speaking to Robbie and speaking to the club, because Bissett has been in hiding, is that Robbie.
Well, speaking of Morris Bissett, I tried to call him twice today. I did speak to him twice actually today to get him to come and speak on the show on behalf of the club about his thoughts about what's happening with Robbie Stanton. He refused, saying to me that they will have a press release later on during the week, maybe Wednesday onwards. They will have a press release. I went back to him again. I thought, look, it'd be good for you to get on. And then he actually told me, look, there's other coaches we could speak about, in Arthur Dillis and John Aloisi, which I found really fascinating because I wasn't calling him about Arthur Dillis and John Aloisi. I was calling him up about Robbie Stanton at Newcastle.
Yeah, look, Morris Bissetto is a bit of a character. From my understanding, he was removed as a CEO of Western United after 6 months as a CEO. He's been a stealth in his current conduct. He's really behind the scenes, bit of Cellini type, and we all know what happened to him. All I can say is that Stanton signed a contract, a new 2-year contract. He didn't ask for any extra resources as far as budget. He had an extra assistant, because when you go and recruit multiple players from NPL clubs, NYL clubs, players that were unwanted. I mean, Stamatolopoulos is a classic example. The game plan of development program Newcastle was good coaching and good standard backup staff under Shane Micheski and Robbie Camp's initial. They reaped the reward $400,000 transfer in Stamatolopoulos. There's a couple of pending international transfer players like Clayton Taylor and Lockie Buck were not wanted by Sydney and Central Coast, and others like Ross and Timmins and Eloy, and they've all sprung to life, and that's got to do with Robbie Stanton and his assistant, Dimitri Perkovich. They've done a top job. Not sure why they would issue a letter to terminate him after the success they've had. Quite correctly, 1 loss in 8 weeks, 3 losses in 12, on a $2.9 million budget, which is less than 50% of what the 3 clubs are spending. So, interesting times. We heard the rumour until we got notice 3 hours ago.
It's just a shock because, like I said, Newcastle Jets have really been on the upper, and with the new board that came on, we were hoping big things for Newcastle Jets down there. I mean, Tony, am I right to say, I believe you've got quite a few players down there at the club?
Yeah, look, there was Stamatopoulos was sold for $4,000 last year. There's 2 that have leave the building at the end of this season as a minimum. For me, my taking the Clayton Taylors, the Lockie, Ben Gibson, the Costa Grossesses, and all these guys to the club was because Robbie Stanton's for years of coaching was a Sydney under the Oregon. He made him better players. See that. With a bit of luck, they should be much higher up the ladder. Done well. And you can see with 1 or 2 top recruitment, challenge for the top 5 or 6. But you'd have to get more specific to
How will it go down with the current squad? I mean, it's a very, very young squad, as we know. And look, I agree. They're only, I think they're only 6 or so points off the top 6, which is amazing because they were languishing down the bottom there for a while, apart from this run that they're currently on, like you said, the last 10 or 12 games. But how do you think it'll go down with the current playing squad? Because obviously he's galvanised them.
I think he definitely has galvanised. He improved them, like I said. Taylor and Bayless in particular, and Grossos have gone on to become internationals. Bayless has gone on to become. They're just some players that he's improved amongst many. Many of those players weren't wanted 12 months ago, 18 months ago. Today, they're most of them more. There's just in the camp, but they're, like I said, 2 of as a consequence of Stanton's removal, they were decided. Answer the question, I don't know the answer to that, Andy, but what I do know is heaven help the new coach to come. If they're going to have a commander-in-chief, like we said, who wants to involve himself in retention and recruitment, he wants to tell coaches that his son is better than any player in the club and he should be trialled. He wants his VP son, Daddy Daycare Centre, to be trialled at Newcastle Jets. Can you imagine, oh, hello, boys, trialling this player. It just happens to be the acting manager of football, Daddy Daycare Centre. He just needs to have a game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, please. You're
the best.
Don't they?
Incredible. Tony,
you're the best.
Before we go to another, just because we haven't had you a while for soccer stoppage time, the Auckland Kings have entered the competition, really doing well. Your thoughts on how the A-League's progressing? Tone, like I was saying to Andy, it's a shame it doesn't get the bums on the seats I suppose the A-League deserves, because the football at times has been excellent this season. Some cracking goals, great level. We know Scandinavian clubs have been coming after players. The MLS now have been trying to get our players. The transfer market of our players has been, it's bigger than it's ever been in quite a while. It's just if we could get the more traction to the A-League, which I think the competition does deserve, we would be in a better place. But the Auckland Kings are really, doing really well with Steve
Auckland FC.
Auckland FC, yeah, Auckland Kings, Auckland FC.
I think kudos to Steve Corrigan. A lot of people wanted to criticise a guy that put 5 trophies as head coach in Sydney FC. Built a squad, and while he's signed some tremendous international play, there's a lot of New Zealand NPL standard. He's real fist of it. There's been couple of that's understandable with the Veristas and the Gillian, the Rogersons, who are coming from effectively NPL. They're fatiguing a little bit, but done a tremendous job. I've got to give credit to Nick Becker and Terry, Dougie Course, CEO, football director, head of recruitment, even Danny Hunt. And they had a plan backed up with their fantastic owner, Bill Foley. Bill Foley owns Bournemouth Club, a Portuguese club, owns 30% of Hibs, owns 45% of They put a lot of money into Auckland. They're building plans. They've done a try. I've gone to one of their games in Auckland. It's an outstanding day's event, and congratulations. As far as to your second question, Chubb, the tremendous problem, often disregarded by people from within, whether they're incompetent people or biased people, jealous people. Simple facts, 2020, I think the whole A-League had $2 million worth of transfers. 2023, there was 21 million. We're selling players to the MLS, to Scandinavia, to the Championship. Just to speak, I won't mention the club. I've had my second MLS club visit Australia. The first one resulted in a career the old Luke Brooks coming over to a great MLS club. There's another one today, that's gone to 3 or 4 matches, and there's many others to come. And we're hoping that's going to generate a lot of interest and further transfer fees, because the clubs needed the APL's distribution.
Andy?
Jones, I just want to ask, and you, Chubbs, has Auckland FC's success come to the detriment of Wellington Phoenix? Because it wasn't not that long ago when Ufuk Talay was there that they were quite a force, Wellington. And I mean, look, I thought it's been a long time coming to get a second team there in New Zealand, and obviously it's been very successful. But just with Wellington not in the mix with final contention this year, is that something that did they maybe underestimate how good Auckland were going to be?
I don't think so, Andy. I think you got to look at the facts. They sold Paulson for 1.6 million, and he's only back here when we talk. They sold Instrument for 800,000. They sold Ben Old for $1 million, and they lost Grayev and Pennington amongst one or two others. And that, I think Chief's a good coach. He's proven he's a good coach. You can't throw a bunch of kids in after you lose 7 stuff and expect to scale.
Yeah, they definitely lost a lot of talent, that's for sure. Yeah.
Tone, moving.
I would develop what's going to happen.
Tone, moving forward, I know you always have something tucked away in there. Anything moving forward? Any other breaking news we should know about before we let you go today?
Well, testament to the A-League and its standing is that a former Merseyside great, an Everton great, the diminutive Adrian Heath, former Everton number 8 for the guys that played with Graham Sharp, and was part of that side that won 2 titles. Adrian Heath's been coaching MLS, last club being Minnesota. He's thrown his hand in the ring and spoken to A-League clubs. So the great Adrian Heath might be blessing the A-League from a perspective. Looking at his history, it's not just because he's former great side representative, but he's done some tremendous work. Identified a lot of talent. He's a developing coach. Had varying success and my development of young talent. So I really hope he comes to the A-League, bring out a few more of those Everton side to whatever club he might.
Well, that'd be huge for the A-League, like you said, a legend of Everton with a league title and FA Cup back in the glory days. I mean, it would be a huge boost for the A-League, and that's it can only benefit the A-League in the long run.
Look, I don't think it's about you've got a hot problem. I think he's proven in the last few years a man of substance. He set up UCL clubs. He built them. they're the type of coaches we need. We've got a lot of talent. It's been demonstrated by the results. You know, people want to bat when our national youth teams were doing well, but they won the Cup. They wiped the floor of Japan and Saudi Arabia, all had 3 or 4 years of professional football. Our under 3 had a friendly against Croatia. We're talking about, we're not talking some two Bob national drill. And look, the kids have, the year we're selling, and look, good luck to the clubs. It was also done a great job.
Tony, can I just ask you, before we let you go, something that's been a hot topic, obviously, since we went off air many years ago, but the whole B League thing that we know it's out now. It has been for a while, and it's been narrowed down and shortlisted and whatnot. Just wanted to get your thoughts on it, and whether the big question is how successful it's going to be.
They're playing like a round robin competition at the end of the NPL season.
Mm.
I think you've answered your own question. You know my thoughts from back then, Andy. I didn't think it would succeed. It's a watered down version of what they wanted because they couldn't get nothing. And it's going to be under-resourced. But if it works, I really do. It'll be another place to develop some of those traditional clubs. I've got my reservations. I hope it works for my good friend Jason. But I think it's under-resourced.
Mm. Yeah, the money side of it is going to be a big thing, and that's that's what keeps on coming up, is how they're going to be able to afford travel and staff and players and all the rest of it.
It's really not. I mean, it's like we don't even know who's in the B League, who's going to make up. We've got 8, and then we'll get these guys that win this. We take. So it's a bit like Morris Bissetto's FIFA PlayStation for management skills. I don't know why you two are laughing. You're probably in trouble by somebody. Probably back tomorrow, but that's the story.
Tony, thank you. Thanks again for your time and efforts that you always give us through Soccer Stoppage Time, now through Football Fever. We'll be looking forward to it over the coming weeks. And like I said, we'll keep a close eye now on that Newcastle Jets story and the Adrian Heath story, which are 2 great stories for the A-League. But that Newcastle Jets is really, it's been a shock and a big revelation that, Robbie Stanton has been given his marching orders at the end of the season. So we'll follow that closely and see how the club respond in the next couple of days.
That's for sure. Interesting times. Nation Lad wishes all the best. It's already past pretend journalists in Barry, so well done.
Thank you, Steph.
Thanks, mate.
Have a good night.
Dubs.
Andy, yeah, well, like this.
You know how, just quickly, you know how I know we are back? This, mate, I've got something sent to me during the week. Mate, the chubberisms have already started. It's just so good to see. Just see that hasn't changed.
Yeah, we had a bit of problem with Tony's audio there. We will get it fixed for next week. Bear with us. It's the first show.
It was a little bit crackly.
It was a little bit crackling, but we'll get it fixed next week. He sort of came on last minute, he wasn't going to come on. Then he had to come on. He came on for us. He had other places to be, but he did make the effort to come on, and we will fix the audio up for next week because it's not that. It was a little bit in and out. Andy, like I said, the A-League's been, Auckland's flying at the moment. Hey, Auckland's flying, and if you look at the table, they're on top on 45 points. Western United second on 38. Melbourne City 37. Melbourne Victory fourth on 36. Wanderers fifth on 35, and Adelaide United round up the top 6 on 33. Just outside that top 6 is Sydney FC on 30 and Macarthur FC on 29. Can you see any of them 2 sneaking into the top 6, or you think the top 6 is pretty settled now with 5 games to go?
I can, Chubbs, only because it's been so unpredictable, and like always with the A-League, anyone can beat anyone on the day. I think I'd go down to Macarthur. Macarthur FC. I don't really give Newcastle a chance from here, but I think from anywhere from Macarthur onwards, and Macarthur Sydney FC, they're a big chance of sneaking into the top 6. Like I said, it's just so unpredictable. Anyone can beat anyone, But the run home these last 5 games are going to be very, very interesting.
And it's been a hard time for Central Coast Mariners after last year's displays of winning the championship. They won the Asian Cup 2 and all those scenes. It really hasn't been the season they wanted this year. They did lose quite a few players as well along the way.
They're probably another one you can put in the boat with Wellington. Lost a few players, and a lot of the younger brigade come in, and it's difficult. It's always challenging for the young boys to step up to this level, but mate, all it does is just develop them for the future.
Definitely. Well, that's pretty much the wrap on the A-League. We'll just have a look at the upcoming fixtures, what we've got this week in the A-League. I'll just bring that up. So we've got Auckland FC taking on the Western Sydney Wanderers, Melbourne City taking on Central Coast, Western United will be taking on Perth Glory, a big one in Adelaide United taking on Sydney FC, and that's about it, I think. Yeah. And the Newcastle Jets taking on Wellington Phoenix. That would be the
and Brisbane Macarthur.
Brisbane Macarthur. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your pick of the Adelaide Sydney FC is a big one, isn't it?
That's a big one. You'd have to fade Adelaide at home, but Sydney FC have caused quite a few upsets up there over the time down there at Hindmarsh Stadium. So you can never write Sydney FC off down there. But you would think that Adelaide United should be too strong.
And second week in a row for Wanderers in New Zealand. So they played Wellington last week, and now Auckland FC. That's going to be a big one as well.
All right, let's jump off over to the NPL in New South Wales, which I believe there's a huge interest in the NPL, and it's been, the competition's just grown from strength to strength. And like I said, some of these NPL clubs at the end of the season are going to be playing in the competition format of the B League as well, so they're looking forward to that as well. I'll just quickly go through the results of the weekend, and then we'll talk about some of the games, and then, like I said, we're going to tee up David Perkovich, who's done a fantastic job at New South Wales Spirit FC. If you've got to remember, Spirit FC last year were with us at Hills, when I was at Hills, one stage we're battling maybe a talk about being relegated, and they've turned the season around to be league leaders and playing some breathtaking football as well. Sydney Olympic Central Coast, unfortunately, Sydney Olympic, their game was the only game washed out from the rain, playing up at Belmore. That was the only game washed out. Like I said, league leader Spirit FC would be disappointed because they really should have beaten Sutherland Sharks. They had a 1-1 draw. Current champions League, Marconi were too strong for the Western Sydney Wanderers, beating them 1-0. In the local derby, St George FA versus St George City, St George were too strong City to beat St George FA 2-1. In an absolutely cracking game on Sunday afternoon, if you got to watch it on YouTube at all, it was RPF 4, Rockdale 3. And we're going to bring up Jurasevsky. I've got to speak about Jurasevsky to you, Andy. Blacktown City 1, Manly 1, Wollongong Wolves 1, Sydney United 2, Sydney FC 0, Mount Druitt 2, and our man Thomas Lopez was on the score sheet there that we know we follow closely with the Brazilian. So Thomas Lopez and the Brazilian, if Mount Druitt need goals, if they can get them two playing together, they'll have a good chance of staying up, because Thomas Lopez, we know how deadly he can be, and if he gets given a chance, and if the Brazilian can start finding him like the other day, and they can work a combination, mate, Mount Druitt will go a long way for Mount Druitt staying up in this competition. Just before we talk about these games, we'll get the results quickly of the NPL League 1. We had Hakoah 0, Northern Tigers 2. We had SD Raiders 3, Canterbury 1, Bankstown City 0, Blacktown Spartans 2, New South Wales Newington Lions 2, my team Dulwich Hill, yes, we beat Bonnyrigg 2-1, Hills United went down to the Bulls 1-0, Raldemere went down to Newcastle Jets 4-0, and Mounties went down to Macarthur Rams 1-0. That's the scores from the NPL 1 and NPL 2. Now, looking at some of those games, like I said, that game, Apia versus Rockdale, right? Like, you watched the A-League, and that was like A-League standard. I mean, it was a topsy-turvy game. Apia were leading 2-0. Rockdale came back. Rockdale took the lead. Apia came back. But please, Jurasevsky, he's won every award possible. But go have a look at the hat-trick he scored. He scored a volley, a volley from a corner. a ball played through to him, he beats his defender, he scores. He gets another chance out wide, cuts inside on his left foot and scores. I mean, the A-League and probably even Australia international football, the Baker Yurosevsky, as they call him, the Baker, we've been denied of seeing him play at a higher level in the A-League or even play higher, because in the NPL he's been phenomenal, if I try and say that word.
Yeah, Chubbs, he's had A-League experience, been at Sydney FC back in the early days, and still only 31 years old, but a hat trick in less than 25 minutes, I think it was, in that second half there. It's unbelievable, mate. I went to the grand final, Parramatta Stadium last season when Marconi took out, and the scenes there and the crowd there was just unbelievable. It's and if you don't get out to your local NPL games, do yourself a favour. If you can't get out to a game, watch it on YouTube, as you mentioned, on the NPL TV channel. It's just the talent that we've got there, and that's why we hope and pray that something comes from this B League, that a lot of these players that are in these that are in the NPL can somehow find that as another stepping stone to further their career. But it's we know they're two bitter rivals, RP and Rockdale. Especially when the goal comes in injury time, Chubbs. It's always a lot of drama there. But it was it's massive for RP to fight back the way they did, and managed to get on equal points now with
jump in there, you see, Paul Campbell, also with that injury time goal. I mean, Simmons also equalised in the 87th minute, and came down with that strike from outside the box to win a 4-3. Wild scenes at Lambert Park. But like you said, I'll quickly look at the table before we speak at a few other games. You've got Spirits still on top with 20 points, Marconi second on 18, Arpia third on 14, Rockdale fourth on 14, Manly fifth on 12 points, and Blacktown City round up the top six on 12 points. Just outside there is St George City on 11, Sutherland on 11, Wollongong on 10, Olympic at 10th on 9 points. Obviously, they've played a game less. Sydney United are on 9 points. Mount Druitt have moved up to 12th now with that win on 8 points. St George City 13th on 7 points. 14th Sydney FC. Well, if you look at 14th, 15th and 16th in the NPL, you've got Sydney FC, Central Coast and Western Sydney Wanderers, all the A-League teams. Now, we know all these A-League clubs, they probably struggle a little bit while the A-League competition is on, and we know they do get stronger once the A-League season ceases, and a lot of players fall back and play in that competition, which I find a little bit unfair, but that's for another day. But that's when you probably see a lot of improvement from them.
Yeah, look, that's an interesting one, because it's not just by luck that these three teams are where they are now. It's the choice of player that they have at the moment. But as you said, once the A-League season ends, you find a few of these players that are on the fringe coming back to this NPL competition and really making a difference. But we know they're all generally under 23 players that they're fielding. These A-League clubs, which is what they do have the pick of the talent. Let's be honest, it happens in the women's game as well. But they manage to field what they can, what they've got the pick from, and then you'll see a lot of those A-League players return back to the NPL once the season is over.
How you Marconi, current champions? They're sitting in second spot, I believe. Yeah, second spot at the moment. How do you think their chances of going back to back this season, Andy? A club that you follow closely?
Yeah, look, my local team, Marconi. I live down the road, and I was actually meant to head up to that game on Saturday night, but I just had some other commitments. But look, considering the biggest loss for them was obviously Tim Wilkowski, who signed a deal with Western Sydney Wanderers, and good on him. It was well deserved. That I think he's 26 years of age.
Yeah.
Something at that level, but look, they've obviously still haven't really lost much in terms of the players and the talent that they've got. Always been strong, always been a big club, Chubb, as you know. But the way they're going, it's definitely achievable for them to go back to back.
Another team that I think is going to have a big say, like I said, in this competition. I think should be doing a little bit better. He's another local club, Sydney United, with Anto Juric, had a good win away to Wollongong Wolves. There's been a little bit of inconsistency, but I thought that they should be doing a little bit better than they are. But you have a little bit of inconsistencies because even Blacktown City. I mean, the NPL, even in NPL1 and in the Premier League, I mean, anyone can beat anyone on that day. It's pretty much, even the A-League, I suppose, football overall, but especially in these NPL competitions, if you're a little bit off it on the day, you do get beaten. Doesn't matter where you are on the ladder.
And the talent is there, Chubbs. All the teams have got good talents. It's always a mix of youth and older heads, like you said with Jurasevsky, although he's only 31, But the fact that the talent is out there, and you see it, like I said, you see it at the NPL level. You just mentioned that the hat trick and the quality of hat trick that Jurasevsky scored on the weekend was just proves
it's a technician at his best, at his trade. I mean,
unbelievable.
When you want you've got a young son at home. If you've got a young son at home playing a striker, get out and watch Jurasevsky. Get out to Rockdale Legend Sports and go watch him. Study him, watch him on YouTube. Just watch his movement because it's incredible. He's always there. He always pops up. He reads the game well. He's there at the right time. I mean, and in these competitions, if you can have a goal scorer that can score you the 20, 25 goals a season, it goes a long way for you to go close to winning the competition.
Yeah, 100%, Jobs. We know how important the goal scorers are at all levels, and if you can get a striker that can put that many, a tally of 20 or so goals in a competition, a season, you're absolutely halfway there, So it goes a long way.
Yeah, David, like I said, we're going to be speaking. David's going to be coming on now. We're going to be speaking to David Perkovich, who's been doing a wonderful job, like I said, at Spirit FC. I mean,
I was actually I saw Adam Peacock last week.
His son was playing down there.
Correct. Yeah. So he's at Wanderers now.
Yes.
Noah.
He used to play at Spirit.
So, that's right. So that's what I'm interested to find out. He was banging in goals and really on fire last season for Spirit. Young Noah Peacock, the son of the great Adam Peacock, legend broadcaster, loves football, loves Newcastle United as well. So I had a good chat to him about that, and I asked him about how Noah's going. But yeah, obviously a bit of a step up going from Spirit to the Wanderers.
Oh, definitely, it was a good step up for him. But like I said, Spirit's a great club, been run really well down there by David. We're just waiting for him to get on in a minute. He'll be coming on. But like I said, them and Marconi still undefeated. So, it's going to be interesting times ahead. All the big guns are there: Spirit, Marconi, Apia, Rockdale, Manly doing a lot better this year. You got Blacktown City. I mean, St George is really doing well with the signing of Bayan Tanel. We know Bayan Tanel was the partner in crime of Jurasevsky for so many years, and now has moved to St George, and he's scoring goals for fun this season as well. So, it's a healthy competition. And like I said, you've got Mount Druitt who went up. They're looking to stay up. Young Thomas Lopez, he could keep him up down there. Sydney, so it's an interesting competition, this one. And the one club that I know we get a lot of talk, and I get a lot of talk from. Why they're struggling is Sydney Olympic, but we'll leave that for another day. It's a huge story. Sydney Olympic, a proud club, big. It's got big heritage, a big but unfortunately in recent times haven't been the club that everyone wants them to be.
I was going to ask you about them, but I think we will leave it for another day. But what I will ask you about is your club, Dulwich Hill, in New South Wales League One. Big win on the weekend, and we speak quite regularly about your role there at Dulwich Hill. Can you fill us in a bit more, mate, for the people that may not know what you're doing down there at Dulwich Hill?
Yeah, I'm an assistant first grade coach there to a wonderful first grade coach in Tony Valavanos, who's been at the club for over 23 years. Tony has. He's been a great servant to Dulwich Hill there, and he's been brought up through the ranks. He won some minor premierships and championships there through the 20s, and finally got his chance at first grade. And he's done a terrific job in with a very, very small budget. I mean, as you know, in this NPL2, NPL1 and NPL competition, there's not a great financial as other clubs. We're not as strong as other clubs, but we have a great youth system. The youth system is run terrific at the moment. The youth league's going well. Our 20s are flying, and first grade we're very competitive. So we're really happy where the club are this season. It's been a wonderful, and Tony has brought in some great people: Spiro Hatzis, Gilly, myself, Imran, strength and conditioning coach. He's really worked hard off the scenes. We've brought M&J Chickens, major sponsor. So the club's worked really hard away and off the park, and we're seeing the results starting to come through our youth and through our seniors as well.
Well, it was a slow start to the season from you guys, but I think there was a bit injuries, suspensions, that sort of was a reason behind that. But now that you guys have got some personnel on board, the results are starting to come. Can you see yourself pushing up in those final? It'll be difficult to get to the top two, but
in our competition, the top team automatically qualifies to the Premier League. Yeah. The second team goes into a playoff. I mean, we wouldn't. They wouldn't. That was never like we always start you always start the season hoping for that, but that wasn't our ambition. Our ambition was, if we can finish mid-table, and it'll be a good achievement for the club, and then build on what we've started this year and just build on it, and eventually we'll grow on it.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's interesting to see Northern Tigers up, equal top with SD Raiders at the moment. SD Raiders is a club that a very, very strong youth. Chubbs, they're one of the clubs local to me that I go watch a lot of their youth, along with Marconi Bulls and Sydney United in particular, that in and around my area. But SD Raiders first grade, it'll be massive for them, for a club like SD Raiders to make it into the NPL if they were to be successful this season.
I had a bit of a technical issue, but I can see David nice and clear. He's been patiently there waiting for us. Appreciate you waiting there, Dave. Good evening, I've got to say. Great to have you on our first episode here of Football Fever. And in big news, you're leading the competition. You've taken the competition by storm this year in the Premier League. No one really tipped Spirit FC, maybe even making the top six, let alone be 6-2, six wins, 2 draws and 0 losses after 8 rounds. Dave, what's going on down there?
Things in the water.
I mean, I've got to say, it was a master stroke of signing Cubo from our team Hills last season. I mean, he's a phenomenal striker, and I think he's fitted in perfectly into your system down there at Spirit, and he's even grown leaps and bounds. I mean, that was a great magic piece of off-work transfer.
Yeah, look, obviously he caught my eye last season when we played Hills, and he scored a hat-trick against us, so that was enough to convince me. I had my eye on him earlier in the season anyway. I got a tip even before you guys had signed him at Hills that there was a Japanese striker that was trialling at Marconi that was pretty good. But yeah, I thought he had a really decent season, given the fact that Hills struggled. And yeah, I thought his attributes would suit the type of football that we try to play at Spirit. So I tried to get in there early to get his services for this season. And like you said, he's had a great start to the season.
Dave, you're a quiet man, and since I've known you, I think you keep things tight to yourself, because we did play you in a pre-season friendly. It was a close game, but when we spoke, you weren't really. Could say last year. Let's be honest. At one stage, people were talking about you's been relegated, but you've done well not to be in that position by the end of it. But could you see yourself being in this position where you are after 8 rounds? Did you believe it yourself?
Look, you don't really think to yourself before the season starts after 8 rounds where you kind of want to be. You kind of just you have a process that you want to stick to as close to as possible. We had we changed our formation. Not that formations are everything, but it's kind of our foundation of where we want to, how we start off in terms of our football. So we changed a lot of things this season in terms of we changed our training nights, we changed a lot of our squad members, we changed our formation. We no longer play with traditional wingers, we play with wing-backs. So yeah, look, it was a huge change, but we were quite confident with the players that we brought in recruitment that we'll do well, and our aim was, I guess we didn't want to put a limit on ourselves per se, but given that this is our third season in the league, we didn't want to obviously have unrealistic goals. So with I think the season before last we finished 10th, and last season 9th, or 11th and 10th, whichever the way it was. So we wanted to. Our aim was to finish in finals football. We felt that we signed a good enough squad, and they were responding well enough in pre-season to have that aspiration. But now, given the spot that we are in, it's still obviously very, very early days. We haven't hit even a third of the season, but we're very happy with how things are travelling. If you asked me before the season start that I'll be 6 wins and 2 draws, I would have taken it for sure, as most coaches would.
I think you'll be very frustrated after the weekend, because I watched the game and you were all over Sutherland Sharks. I mean, a great free kick. I mean, they put 6 on the wall. He still bent it around the corner and scored a cracking free kick. But Sutherland equalled late, and that's typical football. You don't take your chances, you don't bury them, and they get one opportunity, and it was 1-1. So it was a little bit of a missed opportunity there on against Sutherland Sharks on the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Look, to be honest, I thought our first half was probably our best footballing display that we've had all season. But as the football gods shows itself, sometimes you can have your best general play, but we didn't really put the nail in the coffin, in the sense that we had plenty of chances. Could have been quite easily 3-4 up at half time. But yeah, it was one of those days where we didn't bury our chances, and to be honest, up until date, we've been very, very clinical. So I can't be too harsh on the boys in that sense, but it definitely changed at half time for the second half. Sutherland changed their formation, tried to match ours a little bit, and we didn't adapt to it too well. So I'm not sure why, because we've played against that formation before. Obviously, Blacktown City play a similar formation, and Apia played a similar formation against us as well. So it was a little bit of a strange how it changed. Maybe the boys felt a little bit of pressure because they felt like we should have been way more in front at that point. But credit to Sutherland, they got themselves back into the game, and it's a draw.
Andy?
Yeah, David, welcome, mate. First time obviously speaking to you. I'm just interested to know what your background is, mate, and how you got into coaching, and whether there was any playing days back then, whether you're a hack like myself, or whether you played at a decent level, and just tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure, Andy. Thanks. Yeah, look, my father's Croatian, so as you could probably tell by my surname, my mum's from the Caribbean islands, but growing up, played football. Most of my career at Sydney United, played up until the reserve grade NSL level, but I retired at 21. Stopped playing at 21, as kind of a lot of people, a lot of younger players reach that age. They either get to that next level, or they kind of drop off and get into the workforce. And kind of that's what was me. I went into real estate, working weekends. So I wasn't really the type of person to play football for. I only enjoyed it at the top level. I didn't like social football, so to speak. I didn't get that much enjoyment out of that. So yeah, I stopped playing at 21, started coaching at 24, and that's when I met Tony Valavanis. Coach at Dully. I coached one season at Stanmore Hawks, and then I went to Dulwich Hill the following season. Did the first ever C license in the country at the AIS. And then in 2011, I started coaching first grade football at Fraser Park.
Dave,
fantastic.
I suppose you've got burning ambitions one day yourself, because I believe a lot of you NPL coaches, I mean, I know Peter Tsakenis has spoke a few times about this and he's a little bit disappointed. But do you think there should be the A-League clubs? I know they now look, even today they mentioned they're looking at a coach from overseas. Do you think the A-League, the NPL coaches don't get a fair looking at the A-League, or just not enough opportunity?
It's a good question. I guess Ben Khan trying to kind of change that that feel a bit. He did very well in Queensland and then did obviously very well at Melbourne Knights and then got a shot at Brisbane Roar. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But yeah, look, I don't see why more coaches isn't given the opportunity. I'm not sure how many get interviewed. I certainly haven't been, that's for sure. But
Well, if you continue
yeah,
on this run, maybe by the end of the year.
but yeah, I don't know how many coaches get a fair shot at being interviewed. If they got in the interviewed process and they were someone beat them in terms of their presentation and what they had to offer, then that's fair enough. But I think definitely NPL coaches should get more of a look in at even at just the interview phase and let them kind of showcase what they can do and how they think they can set up their A-League club that is looking for a gig moving forwards. Because I think the coaching talents at NPL level is getting much, much better. I started coaching in the NPL space, albeit not the top tier, but in 2011. So and to see how far it's come along, it's quite significant. So yeah, really impressed with the tactical analysis of some of the NPL coaches that's on showcase week to week now.
I suppose looking at the normal teams, I suppose you're saying would be again your tips that are going to be very strong at the end of the season. The Rockdale, Marconi's, probably Blacktown City, Manly's a bit of a surprise package. But I was telling Andy earlier, someone like Jurasevsky, doesn't matter. He has been the talk of the NPL for the last 3 seasons, banging goals for fun. He scored another hat-trick on the weekend. Why can't you coaches stop him, Dave?
Well, we have. I've been had a not too bad run against him so far. Albeit he still has scored against us, but no, look, he's a prolific striker. He's done very, very well in the league, and he always works off the shoulder of the defenders. And if the defenders, get their eye off him for a second and he's get played in behind, he's just deadly. So. He doesn't need many chances to convert, so definitely one. Especially we play Rockdale this weekend, so it's something that we need to pay attention to this week.
It's going to be a cracker game, and anyone can watch it on YouTube. And if you haven't got on YouTube, get on YouTube and watch the live action on the NPL, just like the A-League on Paramount. There's some great football action. Yeah, just quickly, Dave, before we let you go. Just wanted to say, so now moving forward after this great start, I suppose you'll be just looking to try and secure hopefully a top 6 spot by the end of the season.
Yeah, look, but at the same time, we don't want to limit ourselves. We're at top spot at the moment, so we've earned it. So we're going to try and stay there as long as possible. And if we get to that position in the last third of the season, there or thereabouts, we'll definitely push for honours. You don't play football without trying to win a trophy. So
100%.
whilst we're in contention, we'll aim for that top spot. And if we don't eventually get there, then obviously the finals position is going to be important to play for that championship grand final winners. So, but like I said, whilst we're first, we're going to give the league title a crack.
No, it'd be huge for the club if you can win a minor premiership for your club down there, the New South Wales Spirit, doing fine things, and that'd be a great achievement. And I mean, credit to yourself. I know you work really hard, just like all the NPL coaches do. And, you don't get financially paid for it like other coaches. It's all about the love and the passion for the game, and you show that in spades. So congratulations, Dave. I love watching your team, love talking to you all the time, and pleasure. Thank you for being on Football Fever tonight.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah, champion bloke, David, and I mean he's done a terrific job at Spirit FC, and he's really turned that club around. And see, Andy, when we speak about if you can keep a coach there for 2-3 years, he's been there now. This is his third year, and now in his third year, he's given that club a real crack at the title.
Seems very level-headed, Chubbs. I think that's a massive thing. He lets off the vibe and the character. You can see that he lets off. That's obviously the first time I've spoken to him, but it's very calming. You can see that he's got that aura about him, where the players will work for him, will want to play for him, and I think that's massive. It just comes across so level-headed and very down to earth. Obviously knows his stuff to be in the position that he is. Yeah, mate. It's look, long way to go, as he said, long way to go, but so far so good for for Spirit.
The biggest test for all those NPL clubs is how you recruit in the off season. I mean, like him getting time down at Cuba from Hills very early, before even the season finished, for the season after, was just a great piece of work. That's what I mean. And a lot of these coaches got to go out there themselves. They don't have scouts. We don't have the scouts like 100. You've got to go out there. You've got to watch the 20s games. You've got to watch first grade. You've got to wait 18s. You've got to spend a lot of hours. I don't think people realise how much time NPL coaches spend, away just from what they do on the training field and come game day to try and get a competitive team on the park and a team financially that you can afford on the park. So, no, it's been great work for Spirit FC, and we'll follow them closely, and I hope they do continue on this run, because it's good to have someone new that can win. We always have the big guns out there, and it's putting a little bit of a spin to it this season.
Well, yeah, and the thing is now with the technology that we can watch other games, and with the signing of Vakubu that he got from you guys, from your ex team, he was last year. He played against them and obviously tore him apart, and he kept an eye on him, but he had heard of him previously as well. So it is, mate, it's very difficult at that lower level, so to speak, at NPL level, where you're trying to find players and you're hearing things and whatever. But now with technology, Chubbs, hopefully there's players that you can keep an eye out and watch games on yourself, or even if you come up against them, and being in that space, how difficult it is to find that gem, mate, the gem that's going to turn the club into a powerful force.
All right, so in the Premier League this week, you've got St George City taking on the Central Coast Mariners, and you'll have the Sutherland Sharks taking on Blacktown City. Mount Druitt taking on a Sydney Olympic, and Sydney Olympic are going to really need 3 points, but Mount Druitt's found a bit of form now. Marconi Stallions taking on St George City, 2 teams in form will be a good one. The Wanderers taking on Sydney FC, both teams desperate for a win down there. Like we said, a mouth-watering game on Sunday, Rockdale versus Spirit. That's going to be a huge one.
Yep.
2 huge games. Sydney United taking on Apia as well, another huge game, and Manly taking on Wollongong. So Sunday afternoon, those 2 cracking games, Rockdale Spirit and Sydney United taking on Apia. And in the League 2 this week, we'll have Blacktown Spartans taking on University FC. The Northern Tigers taking on SD Raiders. We're taking on the MacArthur Rams, who are desperate for a win. They have not registered a win yet in the competition.
They won on the weekend.
MacArthur Rams, did they?
They won on the weekend, yeah.
Are you sure they won?
Yeah, they got their first win.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They won 1-0 against Mounties, yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Bulls FC beat Bonnyrigg. Bulls FC taking on Bonnyrigg. Canterbury taking on Bankstown City. Hills United taking on Rydalmere. Interlions taking on Hakoah. And the Newcastle Jets taking on Mounties. That's pretty much our wrap on the NPL. So what now we're going to do, we're going to turn our attention, of course, we're going to cross over to where we're very passionate about, where we have many arguments and and so on. And we're going to start, we have to start, obviously, we're going to have to start with, before we get into the APL, we're going to start off with the League Cup, because we've seen the scenes coming out of Newcastle, the parade. Wow, it was like they won the quadruple, not the League Cup, Andy. You've been a crazy Newcastle supporter. Even my good friend Elvis back at Daily Club, another Newcastle supporter. You guys warned me
Cubs.
that it could be an upset. I was being a little bit naive. I didn't think after we beat you quite comfortably at Anfield, but you deserved it, and congratulations. Your
Yeah, thanks,
first
mate. I
cup
think
in how many years? 33 years, 60 years.
well, 70 years the first trophy in local competition, mate, which is huge. And when you've been starved of success as much as we have, I've been a supporter for over 30 years now, and everyone, people have been messaging me, the parade and buses of 300,000 people for the Kellogg's Cup and the Migorine Cup and 2-Minute Noodles Cup, whatever you want to call it. But we'll take anything, Chubbs. As I said, we're starved for success. I think the parade was a very, very smart thing for the club, and we know the owners have. So far, have been
They're talking
very,
about
very
getting
smart in their
your manager a
business
statue.
since I've taken over. I think the parade just was another way of engaging with not only the audience locally or the fans locally, but internationally, because it's got massive traction. We know Newcastle is a big club locally, but it's not as big as your Liverpools, your Chelseas, your Man Uniteds, etc. worldwide. So I think it was a very, very strategic move and very successful for the club to do that. And yeah, look, but everyone knows how passionate Newcastle fans are, Chubbs, and they came out in their droves, in their hundreds of thousands. It was just amazing scenes. Yes, it was just for a Carabao Cup, but like I said, when you've been starved of success that long, it's something where you have to just take your hat off and say, I think we did deserve on the balance of play. It was Eddie Howe masterclass, I think I must admit he called it, and it was difficult because we went in the game without Anthony Gordon, which we know was suspended. But the biggest loss for me, Chubbs, leading into it, the biggest worry was young Lewis Hall, the left fullback, who played a very, very good game against Liverpool, although we went down prior, and kept Mo Salah very quiet, which we know is a big avenue and a big threat for Liverpool going forward. But yeah, look, it was a very, very. I was absolutely over the moon. I shed a tear, mate. I'm not going to lie, being a supporter for that long. But I think it was well deserved on a balance of play.
I'll interrupt you there to welcome one of our hosts from Soccer Stoppage Time, VP Nick. He's running a bit late.
I can't hear you, mate.
You can't hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You can't hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you nice and clear, Nick. Welcome to the show. I know you were running late. We haven't had a show all together since Soccer Stoppage Time. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, glad to be back. It's nostalgic being back. When you said the group's getting back, couldn't help but get goosebumps.
And you've come at the right time, I suppose. It's an EPL segment, and although it wasn't the right time because we were talking about the League Cup, we weren't too happy about the League Cup. But the Premier League this year, before we look at, it's been a bit of we'll look at the FA Cup results over the weekend, and also we know there's a whole round starting Wednesday, Thursday morning. But boys, just a little bit. Liverpool seems to have run it away with it this season. Man City really dropped off. Arsenal's been a bit of a surprise. Nick, how have you found the EPL this season?
Yeah, look, a couple of things. Of course, it is a surprise how well Liverpool's done, considering, the departure of Jurgen Klopp. I don't think many thought that the transition was going to be as seamless as it was. Arne Slot has done a remarkable job in changing or only tweaking things, sometimes coming in as a new manager with an existing squad that hasn't had many changes is a very tough gig, in particular following someone of great success. We saw how Man United was not able to do that after the departure of Sir Alex Ferguson. It'll be interesting to see what Man City does when the time comes when Pep leaves. But Arne Slot's done really, really well, only tweaking the style of play. A bit of a surprise, Man City dropping as far as they have. Winning the title last year. We know they've got an ageing midfield. Didn't expect them to drop off as much as they have. Arsenal will probably be a little bit frustrated thinking that now that Man City's dropped off, this is their time. But we've seen a few other things, such as the battle for the top four is brilliant, is absolutely brilliant, and
Well, now
it's
it's a battle
very,
of the
very
top.
good to see.
Well, now it's a battle of the top five because, as we know, with the new Champions League format, England earns another spot. So it's actually the
Yep.
top five now. So it's very intriguing. Exactly.
Yes, that's right. It's extremely intriguing with some teams that we never thought would be in the mix, you know, including your Bournemouths and your Brightons and your Nottingham Forests. You know, I was listening to Andy. It's good to see Newcastle back there, back in the hunt, after a disappointing season last year. But Newcastle's in there as well. Two teams that you thought would be in there that aren't, and very surprisingly aren't, Spurs and Man United. But yeah, seeing some of the other teams that you would not pick to be in a championship, in the Champions League running, I think that'll be great. It'll be awesome to see 1, 2, or 3 teams get in. Really, really good. Someone different.
Yeah, 100%. Let's have a look at quickly the results overnight. The last couple of nights, of course, the Premier League, there weren't many games on because there was the FA Cup quarter-finals, and we had a big shock at Craven Cottage where Fulham went down to quite easily. Crystal Palace was sensational, beating Fulham 3-0. A cracker, Brighton, Nottingham Forest 0-0, went all the way to the dreaded penalty shootout where Nottingham Forest managed to win that penalty shootout 4-3. Aston Villa, although Preston first half did play really well, 1-0, but at the end the Premier League club were too strong and Aston Villa won 3-0. And of course, early this morning, Man City...
Yeah, I messaged you.
Early this morning, Man City played... Early this morning, Man City looked back to the best with a 2-1 win over Bournemouth. So that leaves the semi-finals now looking as Nottingham Forest taking on Man City and Crystal Palace taking Aston Villa. Would you say with only Man City there now and Liverpool, the FA Cup seems a little bit rejuvenated with Nottingham Forest being there and Aston Villa, Crystal Palace. This year, for the first time, you're going to have a different League Cup winner, a different FA Cup winner, and a different winner in the EPl, which is great news for England, I believe.
Yeah, for sure, Chubba. And you know, even seeing teams like Crystal Palace, if you actually look at their results from November onwards, they've had a brilliant run of results. They were fighting relegation back then, and I remember looking at their run of results. I think at one stage they won 4 games in a row, 5 games in a row. I think they had only lost twice since that time. So they've had a brilliant change of form from around November onwards. Aston Villa was a team that they're doing really well in the Champions League as well. They made the Champions League last year. They're in the mix again this year. They're a strong team, maybe not as consistent as they were last year, but it's good to see them in the mix for some silverware with the FA Cup. And yeah, of course, you know, Man City. You'd look at them normally and say they're the favourites, but you know, I don't know this time around, not necessarily.
Pep will be desperate to win the FA Cup now that he's got nothing left, and you know, to salvage something in a season. So they'll be desperately desperate to win it. They actually looked really good against Bournemouth this morning after watching that game. I thought they looked back to their best. As best as they can be. It's the best I've seen them this season. So maybe they're finding form at the right time for that, you know, to secure their top 5. I don't think they'll have a problem securing the top 5 in the Champions League, but, you know, giving that FA Cup a real good shake.
Yeah. Look,
Andy, is Andy there or is he gone? Andy, I think he's having problems.
No, Andy's still there.
I think he's gone to log out. He was having problems with his audio. That's okay. We'll march on. Nick, moving forward, we've got some big games coming up. Arsenal taking on Fulham, Wolverhampton playing West Ham, Nottingham Forest take on Man United. You've got Newcastle, Brentford, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Brighton, Aston Villa, Man City, Leicester, Bournemouth, Ipswich, and Liverpool, Everton, and Chelsea, Tottenham. Well, Liverpool got a 12-point lead on Arsenal at the moment as it stands. Arsenal can turn that margin down to 3 points. You would think the form that Fulham's sort of slipping up, but and Arsenal with the big news that Saka's return, and we know they've got a big quarter-final tie with Real Madrid around the corner as well. Do you think Arsenal will? Do you think the players still believe they can catch Liverpool, or do you think they've just will concentrate on the Champions League?
Yeah, I think the pressure's slightly off in the Premier League. They had an opportunity to cut the gap in their last game, and they didn't step up. So this is going to be a bit of a battle. Fulham has the ability to surprise. Arsenal will have one eye on the Champions League. It's a tournament that they're really in the mix for, one that they're desperate to try to win. Made the final only once before. Were consistently in the Champions League for I think with Wenger, maybe 20 years in a row. I think they'll probably focus more on that, and look, they'll still try to keep winning games in the Premier League and hope something slips up with Liverpool. The Arsenal Fulham games, the London derby, and Liverpool Everton, Merseyside derby. Again, with a derby, anything can happen. And if Arsenal do pick up their 3 points and Liverpool slip up and it's down to 9 points with 8 games to go, then things might become a little bit interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Arsenal have been disappointed. I know injuries have been played the way, but a lot of teams have had injuries this season, including Liverpool. I know Newcastle. I just think Arsenal really missed the key opportunity. Was in the winter window there. They didn't sign a striker, and then after they lost a few more players, they got caught out. So I think, it was pretty much a poor management or poor decision making from them not to get a striker in that window. And it's probably left them with a little bit too much to do. But I think the break for Liverpool would have done them the world of good. As you know, they had a week from hell going out of the Champions League to PSV, then losing the League Cup to Newcastle. Players went away, played over in all different Nation League games. That come back now to a bit of a break, and now they can really concentrate on a sort of a 9-game competition, new competition, and secure their 5 wins to win the title, because it'll just be disastrous if Liverpool don't win the title from here.
Oh yeah, of course. I think, like you said, the international break probably came at the right time with that last week where they were knocked out of the Champions League, lost the Carabao Cup final. A very tough week for Liverpool, for the team. Some players probably towards the end were a little bit jaded. A blessing in disguise not playing FA Cup this weekend as well. It gives the players that return from international duty time to get back into the groove, to train together. We know it's always a problem, those especially travelling from afar, that they don't get time to really train together. They usually only get 1 training session in, but this has now been probably 4 or 5 days for those players. 9 games to go. As you said, it's a 9-game competition. I think they're going to try to do it as quick as possible. They're just going to keep trying to clock up those wins and try to win the league as quickly as possible. They don't want to leave it quite late. Otherwise, the pressure will be too high.
Andy, you got Liverpool on 70 points, Arsenal on 58, Nottingham Forest on 54, Chelsea on 4th on 49. Man City round up those Champions League spots on 5th on 49 points. Just outside those Champions League spots, you've got Newcastle 6th on 47, Brighton 7th on 47, and Fulham 8th on 45, and even Aston Villa 9th on 45, and Bournemouth down to 10 on 44, who could still, make those top 5 spots. Now, talking about Newcastle, Andy, there's been a lot of talk this year about Alexandra Isak. He's been in sensational form, as we know. If you believe all reports, turned down another offered to sign with Newcastle, turned the contract down. He wants to wait until the summer. Unless you guys make the Champions League, are you worried a player of his capability, where we know Liverpool and Arsenal are ready to go to war for him? Are you worried about how important it is now for, after the League Cup, is to try and secure that Champions League spot? Because obviously if you do make the Champions League spot, I don't think he'll be leaving.
Yeah, that's the biggest talking point, Charles. But I still believe he will stay even if we don't make Champions League.
You're not concerned of him turning down the latest offer again?
No, well, technically he's still contracted for another 3 years. So I think there's always going to be noise around players of that quality. But I think the biggest thing is who's going to afford him. He's not going to go cheap.
Well, they're talking about there's £150 million. I know Liverpool are ready to offer 3 players plus £100 million. Arsenal's the same.
Yeah,
and Newcastle would take that apparently, but
look, I think it'll be good business. We know it's happened in the past. That they will be very, very smart about it, as I've said about Newcastle's owners. But I still believe, like I said, if we don't make Champions League, I'm a bit more convinced now that I think he will still say. Newcastle have balanced the books very, very well, Chubbs, and I think they're in for a big, probably one of the biggest since the new ownership. I think this summer transfer coming up, this summer window over there, obviously for them, I think is going to be huge for Newcastle. And I think they've got some big money to spend. They've always had the money, but not able to spend it. But the way that they've balanced the books and I guess follow this the PSR or FFP, whatever you want to call it. Rule that's come in on the back of, let's be honest, it's coming on the back of the ownership at Newcastle and being the money juggernaut that they are, but not being able to spend it, which is understandable.
Can you see him saying too, he won a trophy now at Newcastle, he's done his job, he's won a trophy, and if he's not in the Champions League, he's got inspirations to play in the Champions League.
Look, every player does, let's be honest, but like I said, I think there's a bit more behind it, and something small like that, that what he saw or what he witnessed on the weekend was something that he probably have will be in two minds about now. If they say, well, is it the money? Not really. He's got the money.
I don't think it'll be anything to do financially.
Correct. If anything, it's going to be the attraction of Champions League, as you said.
Nick, if Alexander is like, can you? I personally believe if they don't make the Champions League, he will move on. I just think because of the season he's having, and he's a type of player that he wants to win more trophies and so on. But do you think that 150 million price tag, or even 100 million pounds with 2 free players for clubs like Liverpool and Arsenal, certainly Arsenal, who are desperate for a striker, Liverpool as well, if you believe reports, there could be a clean-up with strikers. Diego Jota coming off contract at the end of next season. Where do they stand with Darwin Núñez, Luis Diaz, or the talk Atletico Madrid, Barcelona? His contract's coming up as well. So it's interesting times ahead.
Yeah, it is. It is. Look, Alexander Isak was a player that, when he was doing really well internationally, he was a player that I thought, this guy would be good for Liverpool. And then Newcastle came in and took him. I thought, well, that's good business, very good business. The price tag's going to be huge. It'll be difficult for clubs to actually meet that price tag, I think. You're going to have to really, like you said, Chubbo, it's going to have to be 100 million plus 3 players. All right, so then you lose 3 players, you bring in 1, then you've got to then spend more to bring in another 2.
Yeah, they were talking about, if you believe, and this is coming from some credited reporters, so it's not just out of any blue, like David Ortiz. They're talking about a Joe Gomez, Darwin Núñez, and a Kwanzaa or a Harvey Elliott, and Arsenal's talking about their 3 players as well. So I don't know. Newcastle, Newcastle's in the box seat. They've got the player. If they can make Champions League, I don't think there'll be any reason for him to leave. Like Andy said, he's got another 3 years on his contract, so it's going to be interesting to see.
That's right. Well, the 3 years on his contract ups his price.
Correct.
A lot.
100%. Yeah, very smart business. Very smart business the way that.
100%. The other big story, of course, that rocked the world was TAA Liverpool. If you all reports that he had agreed personal terms with Real Madrid over 5 years. Then there was a strange report from Melissa Reddy, we know Melissa Reddy is very close to Liverpool as a journalist and Man United and a few other clubs, but she came out and said that there's been really no change. She really didn't know where that story came from, although on her belief is that Liverpool is still talking to EAA, the agent is still open and still talking to Liverpool. So maybe that story has not finished and is not really yet completely done. If you're asking me, I do believe he will move to Real Madrid, and I believe they're going to concentrate on trying to tie down Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah. Because if I was Liverpool, although this season Arne Slot came in and everyone was worried about Jurgen Klopp leaving, he walked into a team that really done really well the season before. Yeah, they finished third. They died out a little bit the last 8 games, ran out of petrol, but he left Liverpool in a great place. I mean, he only got Chiesa on for £10 million was the only incoming that Arne Slot done. But I think Arne Slot's biggest test is going to be next season, where there's 12, 13 players coming off contract at the end of 2026. And also, like you said, you've still got to tie down Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk. So, Nick, with TAA, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's going to move to Real Madrid, or do you think there's another twist like there was with Steven Gerrard's story when he was pretty much done and dusted at Chelsea?
Yeah, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion yet. I'm always of the belief until I see them holding up the jersey or wearing the jersey or in their stadium juggling the ball, I don't think it's done yet. So even with TAA, there's so much news going around at the moment that he's gone. He hasn't come out and said anything. Look, we don't know if it's only because, he wants to keep things focused on the title. At the end of the day, disappointing if he does go, because not because he's a Scouser. And, you can't expect someone to just stay at one club for their whole lives, Players, loyalty is one thing, but players are also looking after their livelihoods and their careers, their families. So if big money comes, you can understand why they would go. The disappointing thing is, as we were talking about Isak, he's got 3 years left on his contract. Well, there should have been no reason why his contract should have been let to run down. So if he does go, he goes for free.
I think Liverpool's biggest problem there was when they had that George Smith, who came in, Jurgen Klopp's friend from Germany, came in for that 6 months period after Edwards and Michael, the other CEO, had walked out of the club. That had all left, and I think that was the biggest problem, because he was only in for a short term. No one tied down. They never tied down Mohamed Salah and Dijk. They probably weren't in the best of form, but they should have tied down TAA. You're right, Nick. There's no excuses. He should have been tied down. I've heard other people. I've heard Gary Neville. I've heard Stuart Pearce. I've heard other people talk about it, saying, well, he's gave everything to the club. He's won every trophy. He's done everything. Doesn't matter if he goes for free. He deserves to go for free after all the years he's done for Liverpool. But I don't agree with that. We can't let out one of our biggest talents and probably arguably the best right back in the world. He's got his critics defensively, but there's not a better attacking right back in the world than TAA on his game, on his day. So, it's incredible that he wasn't tied down to a contract at all.
Oh, look, for them to say he's entitled to go for free, obviously they miss the concept that football is a business. And in the same way that he wants to go, if he wants to go there and he goes there for big money, why? Because, it's a business and he's looking after his livelihood. In that same frame of mind, then you've got to say, well, Liverpool as a club should be making money off that commodity. Players are transferred. The reason why they're transferred is because they're bought and sold. They're commodities these days. It's not, like the old days where I would go somewhere because I like it and I like the club and, I don't like the club anymore, so then I leave. No, you've got to tie down your assets. And even if 2 years ago, they said to TAA, look, we understand there might be a desire to go to Real Madrid, but sign the contract and, at least that way the club will get some money for it. And, we'll make sure that it's not stupid money, so then Real Madrid doesn't even offer. But to let a player go for free is especially an academy player that's come through the ranks, born and bred through the club's developed the player. It's really, 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 really disappointing.
That's the biggest thing, I think, Nick. I've been reading that and seeing and speaking to other mates that are Liverpool supporters, is that the fact that he's one of your own, like it's that connection there when you bring him up through the academy and through the ranks and they're a superstar and they're allowed to leave just so easily. It just seems so too easy for him to leave. It is a bit sad, but
yeah,
it's at the end of the day, mate. Look, it's happened. He's not going to be the first, definitely not the last. Well, definitely not the first and not the last. So, unfortunately it happens. But I think the biggest thing for Liverpool fans, as you guys are, is how easy and how there just hasn't been much fight there to keep him or that it's just.
Well, I think Nick might be right. I still think there might be a little twist to this TAA story. We're going to follow it closely because, like I said, with Melissa Reddy and a few others saying there's still, there could be a little twist. We'll watch it closely over the next few weeks. But I think whatever happens, I think Liverpool will tame down any talk of any TAA situation, and Arnie Slot's going to want to put everything to bed, because they're going to have to come out. They've got a huge game Thursday morning, Merseyside derby. And if Arsenal do beat, Fulham, where we think, Andy, you probably agree, Arsenal should do the job on Fulham on Wednesday morning, even with Saka back as well and Arsenal playing well, they'll get the gap down to 9 points. So Liverpool don't want to be dropping any more points. And we've seen that game at the final game at Goodison Park, where what scenes they were when Everton equalised with the last kick of the game to make it 2-2 in incredible scenes, which left both clubs there 50 wins each at the end at Goodison Park. They said 50 wins each. They'll never play there again. But Nick and Andy, Liverpool's really going to have to get 3 points against Everton Thursday morning.
For sure. It's, hopefully they use that last game as a bit of motivation. Hopefully they use the game the day before. Either way, if Arsenal win or if Arsenal drop points, that would be motivation in itself. They've just got to look at the end of the season, the finish line, and they've got to do everything possible to get 3 points on Thursday morning.
I think you mentioned it earlier, Nick. The break's been what you guys needed on the back of those couple of days of, obviously losing to us in the final and the PSG Champions League game, and you expect them now. I think it'll go back to business as usual for Slot, and you'd expect them to do what they have to do to take this to take the league out. And let's be honest, as much as I oppose you guys, they're fully deserved.
We'll give our tips on the Premier League. A lot of people have asked us over the time, soccer stoppage time, what our tips. We'll go through the games quickly. Arsenal, Fulham. I'm on Arsenal.
Yep, Arsenal.
Draw.
Nick's on a draw. Wolves versus West Ham. Both West Ham have been rejuvenated as well against the Wolves. I'm going to go for an upset there and support my dad there for blowing the bubbles. West Ham.
Yeah. Wolves unpredictable, eh?
They are. They're a little bit more desperate than West Ham at the moment. So West Ham can play a really good game, and then they can have a shocker.
Yeah.
So this one's so unpredictable, so hard to pick. I'll say a draw.
Yeah, I'll say draw too. And another interesting thing while we're talking on Wolves, I don't know if you guys spoke about it before. Probably not. When I couldn't actually hear. That's why I had to reconnect. But Mateus Cunha's been. There's a release clause in his contract, and he's another player that's just come out in the last couple of days that he'll be leaving Wolves. Sorry, and he's basically
an exceptional player.
What a player! He's basically said his time there is done, so he'll be another very highly sought after striker.
One game I would have said Nottingham Forest. I would have picked comfortably to beat Man United because we know Forest have got a great record at home, but playing with the emotions they did, just finished a couple, not long ago, going to penalty shootouts. How much did it take out of them? I'm going to say a draw in this one, or I'm even leaning to Man United, Nick, to beat Forest.
Nottingham Forest.
No, I'm Man United for me too, Chubbs. I think that FA Cup tie would have taken a lot out of Nottingham Forest.
Thursday morning, we've got Bournemouth taking on Ipswich. If Bournemouth want to have any, keep their chances of sneaking in that top 5, they have to get 3 points here, and surely they'll be too good for Ipswich Town, who are due to be playing championship football next season.
Yeah, Bournemouth for me.
Yeah, same.
Brighton, Aston Villa, derby game down there, huge game for both clubs. I'm going to go for Brighton.
I'm going to go for Brighton. Also had that long FA Cup game as well.
Yeah.
Aston Villa played. They played as well. Draw.
Yeah, draw for me too.
Running out of time, but we'll quickly finish it. Man City taking on Leicester, rejuvenated Man City. I thought this morning against Bournemouth. Really liked what I thought of it.
They were $2.20 this morning.
Yeah, crazy
No way.
money. Crazy money.
$2.20, mate. Unbelievable.
Man City for me will beat Leicester. You boys agree?
Man City.
Newcastle United, Brentford, interesting game after all those celebrations. A little bit of a worry for you guys. I'm going to tip a draw in that game, Andy, against Brentford.
It's going to be tough. They're a very, very underrated team. I actually know a Brentford supporter, believe it or not, and he always talks them up. But yeah, they've been again. They've recruited well, highly regarded manager. I think it's going to be a tough one. And you don't know how they're going to react on the back of the Carabao Cup. They've probably celebrated a bit too long in that respect. But it's going to be a tough one. I think we should, if we're serious about making Europe, I think we should be winning these games at home.
I think so. I think Newcastle for sure.
Yeah. Another championship team already gone down is Southampton taking on Crystal Palace. Palace is on fire, playing brilliant football. I've got to go with Palace on this one.
Great team.
Palace,
yep.
And then we finish it off with the derby, Liverpool versus Everton. Well, I think Liverpool will be back to their best, and I think will be too strong for Everton at home.
Agree. Yep.
Agree. And Chelsea-Tottenham, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
Chelsea-Tottenham's the next day. Tips on that one?
I don't know. I want to see.
I'm going to take Chelsea on that one.
Yeah, I'll say Chelsea at home.
Anyway, guys, that's pretty much draw. That's pretty much the end of our program for the first time we've tried hosting here on Chubba TV and Football Fever. It hasn't been all smooth sailing. We've had a few audio problems. We've had a few. We've had a few Benny Hill moments. We've had a few other.
There's about 30 Chubbers, and hey, Nick, you ready to mark these ones down? New South Wales Spirit, he called it for you.
Yeah.
But we'll be back.
Alexander is.
New South Wales.
We're glad we're back. We're glad that Stealth is back. We'll keep breaking the big scoops.
How do we put some commercial breaks, mate? I'm dying of thirst here.
Mate, this is new technology, mate. Doesn't work like that anymore, Andy.
We've got to get down onto it, mate. Some commercial breaks.
Anyway, firstly, again, we break that story, the huge story that we broke first. Football Fever has broken it, and I believe some of the big media outlets are now tuned in and going to break our story, with Robbie Stanton being given his marching orders at the Jets at the end of the season, officially being given his termination letter. So we broke that story tonight here first at Football Fever. So we'll follow that up in the next couple of days as well. But once again, we'll be back next Monday. We'll try and be bigger and better and improve as well in things we haven't done well. But, this show will grow, just like the audience and just like we did with Soccer Stoppage Time and got it to an award-winning show.
That's right, Chubba.
Well done, mate.
Well done, mate.
Yep, and we'll hopefully, there's always room to improve, mate, like anything.
100%. All right, boys, we'll speak off air and we'll be back bigger and better next week. Thank you.
Thanks, boys.
Good night.